TV, where we bring you news updates across the country and international, as well as the weather report. We're streaming live on Facebook at GTV Ghana and across all our social media platforms at GTV Ghana. I am Valencia Tete. Now let's get the detail of the stories. And the failure of government to meet that. Organized Labour has declared a nationwide strike starting from October 10, 2024, following the expiration of the deadline and the failure of government to meet their demands on illegal mining. This came up after the union held an emergency meeting on October 1, 2024.
October 10th, Labour has decided to declare a nationwide strike. We defer from October 10th, 2024. We are therefore calling on all workers to stay at home starting Thursday, October 10, 2024, until government accedes our demands. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong.
Otu says the union's decision for a nation. Meanwhile, in an interview with GBC News, the Deputy Secretary General of TUC, Dr. Kwabena Otu, says the union's decision for a nationwide strike on 10th October is an independent decision and not politically influenced.
And for that matter, when we have sat, the unions tried ourselves to be independent. And we have independent of any employer, government. And for that matter, when we have sat, looked at everything, analyzed, and we have come to a decision that instead of a demonstration, we want to go and strike. This is our independent decision. We do not politicize this. We have committed ourselves that this fight will not just be because a particular government is in power, but this fight will continue to make sure that our water bodies are clean, our forest reserves are preserved for both the present and the future of this country.
The Electoral Commission has maintained that calls by the register are premature. The NDC has pointed the Electoral Commission has maintained that calls by the NDC for a forensic audit of the voters' register are premature. The NDC has pointed out some inconsistencies in the voters' register and says this makes the voters' register unfit for the election. Addressing stakeholders at an inter-party advisory committee meeting involving registered political parties in Accra, DC chairperson Mrs. Jane Mensah said that discrepancies identified nationwide had largely been resolved through and tested legal and administrative processes.
Ladies and gentlemen, confidently state over the last that most of the discrepancies discovered to date have been resolved. Ladies and gentlemen, over the last few weeks, there have been discussions in the public space as to the credibility or otherwise of the provisional voters register. The largest opposition party, the NDC, has alleged that the discrepancies they have detected with the provisional voters register make it unfit for the 2024 election. It is important. They have in this regard called for a forensic audit of the provisional voters register. It is important to note that the discrepancies initially identified in the provisional voters register cut across all regions. Assertions that the discrepancies in the provisional voters register are aimed or were aimed at disenfranchising voters in certain parts of the country.
The Nigerian government wants to repress, oppress the Nigerian people to the point that they become so scared of expressing their fundamental rights. They want to press all voices of dissent, but Nigerians today are letting the government know by our action here that our voices can never be silent. If the government is as irresponsible as it has brought us,
the NDC presented
the Nigerian government wants to repress.
Identified with the provisional register. At the meeting, they highlighted a few examples of each category. Following this, the Commission requested the full data from the NDC with the assurance that it would investigate the data presented and present and provide a report of its findings to the NDC within a week. The Commission went on to assure the NDC that the issues they had presented to the Commission were the typical issues that usually arise from any voter registration exercise and which found expression in the Provisional Voters Register. The Commission explained at the meeting that the very essence of the exhibition exercise was to unearth discrepancies such as those detected by the NDC. That notwithstanding, we requested the data for the sole purpose of addressing each issue case by case in order to allay the fears of the NDC and put them at rest. Unfortunately, we have not received the data, and the debate as to the credibility or otherwise of the Provisional Voters Register has continued. It is for this reason that the Commission felt it necessary to hold this IPAC meeting in order to present all parties with an opportunity to present any issues they may have detected with the Provisional Voters Register.
The National Democratic Congress says it's still not satisfied with the Electoral Commission's explanation of the authentic voters register for the 2024 elections. The National Democratic Congress says it's still not satisfied with the Electoral Commission's explanation of the authentic voters register for the 2024 elections. This came up at the EC IPAC meeting in Accra, where the political parties were thinking through processes and are taking so far to present a credible register for the election. The NDC's Director of Elections, Dr. Amane Boama, who led the team, insisted for a forensic audit of the register.
On what is the voters register for the upcoming election? The Director of IT at the Electoral Commission, Dr. Yawo Furiaji, made a presentation on what the voters register for the upcoming election looks like.
We now included the online registration that allow for us to be able to immediately check when somebody is registering whether they have already registered before. The importance of this step is that it prevents the long process of deduplication. Our ability to do the online registration now means that at the time that the person presents to the registration officer, we are able to check,
I think today,
sure whether
the data has said it all.
The political party representatives present shared their opinion on the work done so far.
I think today the data has said it all. The data has said it all, to the extent that you should be humbled enough. Your methodology has questions.
So if the
I think that for the commendations you've gotten here, you should be humbled enough to review your methodology.
So if the EC is giving us something and the NDC is asking a forensic audit into the voter register, there's no problem asking for a forensic audit. But the problem here is that we are only holding a provisional voter register.
The Director of Elections for the NDC, Dr. Amane Boama, however, had issues with the EC's explanation.
Are these figures emanating from the very adjudication meetings that NDC participated in? Figures? Because to the best of our knowledge, about 20, the meetings that we participated in, we did not treat these figures in tens of thousands. About 20-something thousand are coming from. So once again, it will be important for a forensic audit to identify where these over 20,000 figures are coming from.
The EC chair, Mrs. Jim Mensah, said the Commission has been transparent enough not to be trusted.
Of course, at the polling stations, we all know that when the party agents sign on to the pink sheets, a copy is posted at the polling station. And the beauty of this process is that every media house and every citizen has the right to take photographs of these polling station results, which are the basis of the results. The polling station results are not changed. What we see at the polling stations pasted on the wall forms the basis of the results that the chairperson announces.
She announced that the provisional register will be made public 2 weeks from now for review. From the IPAC meeting, Hager
emphasized his resolve to collaborate with religious institutions. The presidential candidate of the NDC, Mr. John Mahama, has interacted with the clergy and emphasized his resolve to collaborate with religious institutions to tackle the country's current crisis. Speaking to the clergy in Accra on Tuesday, Mr. Mahama reiterated his vision for restoring Ghana's economy, fighting corruption, and addressing youth unemployment while seeking the support of religious leaders in these efforts.
We all so desperately need tirelessly with my team to address our nation's unprecedented crisis and bring about the socio-economic transformation we all so desperately need. I continue to seek your invaluable counsel and rely on your wisdom in government as we navigate these challenges together. As President, I commit to upholding truth and integrity and will always be transparent about the state of the nation and remain humble enough to admit if we make mistakes. I committed to establish a national day of prayer and thanksgiving should I be elected President. We will prioritize religious freedoms, recognizing that churches are not only places of worship, but also centers for social upliftment, compassion, and moral leadership. Under a John Mahama presidency, the freedom of religion will be protected, as specified in our Constitution. Leaders of faith and their works will not be subjected to harassment or attacks. A key component of the next NDC's government will be to partner with religious organizations to invest in income-generating activities, both for the benefit of the churches and their congregations. And we believe that this is an area in which an NDC government will prioritize investments in agriculture and agribusiness. And we believe that this is an area in which the church and the state can have a healthy partnership. We can have a partnership, just as we have a partnership with governments in education and health. We can create space for the church to invest in the priority areas of income investment for the benefit of both the church and the nation. We would also seek to achieve cooperation between a new NDC government and the church in managing our mission schools.
And let's go to the Jubilee House, where President Akufo-Addo has tasked new justices of High Court to demonstrate sound judgment and strong attachment. And let's go to the Jubilee House, where President Akufo-Addo has tasked new justices of High Court to demonstrate honesty, sound judgment, and strong attachment to the rule of law in the discharge of their duties. When he saw in 21 justices of the High Court, the President said that 3 principles are crucial to the administration of the justice in the country. He asserted that a corrupt or incompetent judge who fails in his duty poses significant danger to the administration of justice and the public interest.
Jubilee House in Accra. The 11 women and 10 men were sworn in as justices of the High Court on Monday, September 30th, 2024 at the Jubilee House in Accra. They have been elevated to the High Court with the strength and integrity of the judicial system, a pillar upon which the peace, stability and progress of the nation rests. This is the 8th and final time President Akufo-Addo is inducting new set of justices into the High Court. The new High Court judges are Madam Abigail Inimasari, Madam Dorinda Smith Atta, Madame Veronique Prabatete, Mr. Charles Kwesi Champon, Madame Arith Nsemo, Mr. Abdul Razak Musa, Mr. Samuel Janikote, and Mr. Stephen Kumi. Others are Mr. Abbas Abukari Adams, Mr. Felix Dachomo, Madame Agnes Opoku Banie, Madame Efia Owusu Apia, Madame Ellen Ofe Aye, Madame Winnie Amate Owusu, Madame Enid Marful Sound, Madame Kizita Nakuwa Kwashi, Mr. Ernest Pascal Gemachi, Mr. Nathan Pakayani and Mr. Oliver Abada, Mr. Justice Fred Pong Amwako, and Mrs. Akusia Danswe Siama Christopher. The High Court is a superior court of record with jurisdiction in all matters, particularly in civil and criminal matters. It is at the High Court that much of the work of the judiciary begins and usually ends. At the Jubilee House, President Akufo-Addo urged the new judges to ensure that justice is served impartially and with integrity.
We will continue to implement policies that enhance the efficiency and transparency of the judicial process and reinforce public confidence in our legal system. We all have a role to play in the Ghana project, to build a united, whether in the executive, legislature, judiciary, private sector, or civil society. We must work together to build a united Ghana, one that is driven by social justice, respect for human rights, and the observance of the rule of law.
President Akufo-Addo charged them to apply the laws of the land without fear nor favor.
You've been entrusted with a great responsibility. I wish you all the best as you embark on this important journey. May your judgments reflect the highest standards of fairness, integrity, and justice.
At all times. Justice Abigail Enima Asari, who spoke on behalf of her colleagues, thanked the President for the appointment and promised to administer justice at all times.
We promise to go by the oaths we have all taken this evening. In discharging our judicial officers, we promise to do that confidently, boldly, without fear or favor.
President Akufo-Addo said steps are underway to modernize and improve the administration of justice through the construction of 120 courts and accommodation for judges across the country.
With at least some striking Israel territory. It is the second attack by Iran to the foreign front. Iran has launched hundreds of missiles towards Israel, with at least some striking Israel territory. It is the second attack by Iran this year after it fired hundreds of missiles and drones at the Israel in April. Israeli military officials said the attacks appear to be over and there was no more threat from Iran for now, but it is still unclear how much danger was caused. The Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, has warned of consequences after the attack. He said Iran has made a big mistake and would pay for it. Meanwhile, the Israeli military carried out new airstrikes in Beirut against Sorry for the poor sounds. We're having the weather report for today. Sorry for the poor sounds. We're having the weather report for today. From the GNet to give us more for today's weather. Good morning, Felicity.
Good morning, Valencia. How are you?
And the line is Felicity Ahafanya from the GNet to give us more for today's weather. Good morning, Felicity. Good to hear from you this morning. How is our weather looking like? I'm doing well by God's grace. How are you doing this morning?
Our weather is I am much better today than yesterday.
Good to hear from you this morning. How is our weather looking like for today?
Today, our weather is looking pretty cool for any outdoor activities over the entire country. We expect it to be very cloudy. We just have those expected to have some rain and thunder within the day. Those in Akimodan, those in Kufuridua, Bukoko, those in Aflau. If we are moving towards the western north areas, we have some few areas that will actually affected, likewise those in the Ashanti region. Yes, part of Volta and Oti regions we are also expected to have some absolutely late hours showers. In terms of temperatures, we expect it between 31 and 34. But then for the state of the sea, today we are expected to
much for that update. That was Felicity Ahafanya from the GNA. Now let's have the lotto winning numbers for Tuesday. Very much for that update. That was Felicity Ahafanya from the GNA. Now let's have the lotto winning numbers for Tuesday. 86, 16, and 36. Alpha Lotto winning numbers for Delta Tuesday: 37, 53, 86, 16, and 36. Alpha Lotto winning numbers for Delta Tuesday again: 37, 37, 53, 53, 86, 86, 16, 16, and 36, 36. There's more on the breakfast show for today. Stay tuned, don't go away after this break. There's more on the breakfast show for today. Stay tuned, don't go away after this break.
Live from GBC Studio 1, this is the breakfast show.
Karmel bukata numna zamanu tambo zanjanda tiliyabam simple na wanda so
daga cikin muhimman rawa na azo a gani da Hausawa suka taka a cikin wannan ƙasa shine kafa zangonnai da suka zama gimshiki na cibiyoyin kasuwanci da fatauci. Ko shakka babu shi ke karfafa ingantacciyar tattalin arziki da kuma karfafa al'adun gargajiya.
Wanka ke abuna gobe ke biye ehiawa. Ke ofia market okobia baweni ni awele ka buye uni sanagu abagule. Ke vitamin A uni sanaha gbeke sani ahale.
Chichogbadudo kokodi yakatoi. Enyaiba anga uhana mona chishipo iga chirodovania. Watan atrangao azunububuwe.
Sukuu no yako buke adwunu. Normal ane bi sukuu no rebara. Otenwu de bi ma donwane. Bawaya. Okay. Agreken more ngokwa ne Ebonijiman. Emaya le wiade ne mwane.
Adult education. Showing from Monday to Saturday at 5 p.m. only on GTV.
Do you know someone making a remarkable impact in their community? Someone whose dedication and excellence inspire others? It's time to recognize their efforts. Introducing the most prestigious Royal 2025 Millennium Excellence Awards, celebrating outstanding achievements across various fields. And now, you can nominate those extraordinary individuals or companies who deserve recognition. Nominating is easy. Visit our website at mef.nominate.live. Click on the nominate button, choose a category, and fill in the details of your nominee. It's that simple. Join us in recognizing those who make a difference. Your nomination could change a life and inspire many. Visit mef.nominate.live and nominate your preferred personality or company for the 2025 Millennium Excellence Awards. Nomination is open from now to December 2024. Be part of the change. Nominate today. To be a sponsor for this prestigious royal event, contact 053-540-1903.
Official media partners: GBC News, GTV, Lifestyle TV, Garden City TV, GBCGhanaOnline.com, Unique 95.7 FM, and Daily.
The food be fire. You hear say Electoral Commission they do some exhibition things?
Exhibition? What be that one do again?
This are EC and their big English. Is this exhibition even necessary?
I don't know, self. Look, isn't that our boss from the EC? Okay, my people. I couldn't help but overhear your discussion about the upcoming exhibition. Let me explain one or two things to you. You see, the officers who register voters are human beings. They are not machines. You understand? So sometimes they might make mistakes when entering your information.
So how would this affect us?
You might live in Kaswa, but then they would accidentally select Ayawaso as your district. Or even they can mark you as a female when you are a man.
Assemble.
Go and check that your name is in the register. Say, with details so a correcto perfecto. That is why we are doing this registration. What if my name isn't there at all? My brother, don't worry at all. You can ask them for your name to be included in the register once you have your voter's ID card. You can also ask for the correction of a wrong sex. You are male, but they have written that you are female. So you give it to them and they correct it on the card for you. Really? Go and fix it very quickly. Who's how your Bema? Now we'll capture who you're female. Where? What is you? Remember, we all make mistakes. That be why the laws they make provision for the exhibition. So say the EC go fit correct all the errors. The EC they ensure say we get clean and credible register. So make you go check your details quick crowd. Or you go fit down the short code *711*51#. So say you go check your details. You check it there, you go fit check till the elections. The 2024 voters register not here. If you think correcto perfecto.
This is the Breakfast Show.
To vote for a new leader to run the country from 66 was the year of the coup. 66 is the number of days we have to go to the polls to vote for a new leader to run the country from next year. My name is David. Good morning. Welcome to GTV Breakfast. Boy, do we have a show for you today. We're looking at the implications, health implications of Galamsey illegal mining, a scourge on our land. What is it going to do to our bodies? What is it doing to our bodies, our minds? You'll find out in a couple of minutes. And later on, I sit down with the political guests from the Movement for Change, from the MPP and the NDC, and we look at the big stories in the news. Stick around. Do not go anywhere at all. Good morning.
Good morning, Kaf. Good morning, Jay, in the corner there. I know Jay will bring us lifestyle soon, but let me just let our viewers know that today on Manifesto Watch, we're bringing you another inspiring leader who's hoping with a team of leaders to take Ghana to the promised land. Kofi Crampton of the New Vision Movement is our guest on Manifesto Watch on Ghana Wins on GTV Breakfast this morning. So, after the headlines, they can stay around for that conversation, get to know his policies, will open them up and get you to understand them. I am out to Saida Sadiq. And Jay.
Yes, and I am Jay Gabra, that GTV boy from my side of town. We're bringing you the quotes of the day. And of course, a lot of trending issues on the social media corner. PDD is trending. A lot more is also trending on social media. I don't know what trends you are facing this morning. And then there's a nostalgical concert, nostalgical night coming up this Friday. Chugmaske is hosting it with his friends, and he'll be here later on in the studio. So we'll be expecting that conversation live right here on GTV Breakfast.
And of course, WhatsApp number is 055-556-1034. The quote of the day to ginger you up. It's coming up in a short while, and then we go straight to the BFS clinic to look at the health implications of Galamsey. Good morning. Welcome to the show. This is GTV Breakfast, your favorite way to rise and shine.
we're back. It's still hashtag GTV Breakfast. It's time now to give you that motivational boost for the day. It's midweek, it's still hashtag GTV Breakfast. And how's your week been so far? Hi, and we're back. It's still hashtag GTV Breakfast. It's time now to give you that motivational boost for the day. It's midweek, it's still hashtag GTV Breakfast. And how's your week been so far? I know those of us on the morning show, we love to sleep and then we love coming to work early in the morning. None of us is a nocturnal. My co-hosts know what I'm speaking about. Have you ever faced a situation where you realize that if perhaps you had lied, it would have helped in a certain situation? Because we are all aware of the famous adage, say the truth and the truth will set you free. But then again, there are certain times where you have to look at the situation where you are and know whether that's the right time to say the truth. Because sometimes it may lead into some epic, shakedown, and that may not be what exactly you're looking for. So this morning we are looking at an African proverb which tells you that look at the situation first before admitting the truth sometimes. And it goes, meaning that even if they are true, some things are better left unsaid to keep. All truth is good. All truth is good to know, but not all truth is good to say. Basically meaning that even if they are true, some things are better left unsaid to keep the peace. Pick your battles wisely. Yes, so for instance, if your boss is admonishing you in front of other people, please don't take that time to speak certain truths to your boss. Take time to find a private corner with your boss and trash things out. Yeah, so you don't have to, you don't have a meltdown in front of everyone who is there. Yes, and so now that we're also fighting Galamsey, this is the right time for us to speak the truth right here on air. And now we go look at the effects on us. So I'm heading over to the BFS clinic where Paf is standing by.
But not all truth is good to say. That was Jay Gabra with our quote for the morning. I have with me here a bottle of very foul water. This is taken from a beautiful river called the Pra, and it's been devastated by illegal mining. And this water is not good for you. But what are the other health implications of Galamsey? This morning, we're focusing on illegal mining and the devastating environmental and health consequences. We are going to shed some light on the health risks. Everybody talks about, do you know how much money they are making? But do you know how much damage is being caused to people who are exposed to this kind of water? My guest is Dr. Esther Yesuto Agbozo, and she's from the Wejigbawe Municipal Hospital to talk to us about the health implications of Galamsey. Doc, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Kafi.
How's it going?
So far, so good.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's zoom in straight into the health implications of getting into contact
usually when we talk about Galamsey, we talk about
chemicals that are used in illegal mining.
We'll talk about land pollution. So you would come to see that usually when we talk about Galamsey, we would talk about what it's doing to the environment. We'll talk about air pollution. We'll talk about land pollution. We'll talk about water pollution. But then again, we need to ask ourselves, we the human beings ourselves, what is it doing to us? First of all, the people who are involved in the Galamsey, then the people living in the communities where the Galamsey is happening, and then those of us who think we are actually far away from the Galamsey, what it does to all of us. So when we start with the people who actually do the Galamsey themselves, we would start with their exposure to dust, because most of them have to either dig pits or blast pits just to get the gold that they are looking for. Now, this dust we are talking about is not just sand. Some of this dust contains what we call silica, some of them contain what we call asbestos. Now, because of their exposure to all the dust that they are inhaling, some of them are going to end up with chronic lung conditions. We are looking at what we call silicosis, which is a chronic lung condition. We are looking at what we call asbestosis, which is also a chronic lung condition. Because of these lung conditions, their lungs become very, vulnerable to infections like what we call tuberculosis. So what a normal person may come in contact with and not get TB, somebody who is in a mining activity would be exposed and get TB. Long term, most of them will end up with lung cancers, the people involved in the Galamsey themselves, because they're inhaling the dust all the time. The unfortunate thing about most of these health conditions is that usually it will take time for them to see the effects. And so in the meantime, because they are making some quick cash, they are not bothered. But I would say that if at the end of the day, you're going to make quick cash and you're going to spend it all on health. Because if you get a lung cancer, you're going to spend your money in the hospital, doing chemo, doing radiation, the emotional stress you're going to go through, the physical stress you're going to go through yourself. Ask yourself, is it worth it? Then again, these people are involved with water bodies. Because they are engaged in these water bodies, some of them are, you see them bathing in the water bodies, washing their equipment in the water bodies and all that. They are exposing themselves to waterborne diseases. We are looking at cholera, we are looking at typhoid, we are looking at all the forms of diarrheal diseases that you can talk about. We are looking at even guinea worm from these water bodies, because these water bodies are sort of breeding grounds for these microorganisms. And some people too will have what we call the vector-borne diseases. So these vector-borne diseases are conditions that you need like another organism to transmit to human beings. And then these organisms thrive in stagnant waters where usually these activities go on. So we are looking at malaria, which is already endemic in our parts. We are looking at the likes of dengue fever, the likes of yellow fever, which are hemorrhagic fevers that the WHO is trying to fight. But because of the activities of these miners, they're exposing themselves to these conditions. And then again, we can also look at other things like the skin cancers that they can get because of the direct skin contact they have with the chemicals that they use. Some of them will have eye irritations, so they can end up with all forms of cancers later. If the truth is that if care is not taken, we're going to get to a time where we have too many cancers on our hands that I don't think the healthcare would even be able to manage them. We are already overwhelmed as a health care system. And in the next 10 to 20 years, if nothing is done, we should expect that these numbers are going to either double or triple, and we are all going to be overwhelmed. Not just with the healthcare people, but everybody. Because imagine you bring your relative to the hospital and all the beds are taken by people with these chronic conditions, and we tell you there's no bed. What do you do?
Already
there's already no bed. Yes. So if we have more people getting sick in the next 10 to 20 years, where are we going to put everybody? Now these are the people who are actually involved in the activity themselves. Now what about the people living around them? The people living around them, again, some of them, the only water they have is, for instance, this water you have on your desk is all they have to either cook, do their domestic activities, drink those water, bath in it and everything. So again, they're also exposed to all the things that the miners are exposed to, even though it is not their primary source of what they are not involved directly in the mining. They're also exposed to it. The unfortunate thing is, when you look at women and children, they have more devastating effects. When you take children, for instance, if a child is exposed to all these chemicals, we're looking at what we call heavy metals. We're looking at mercury, we're looking at arsenic, we're looking at cadmium, lead, and cyanide. These are the main chemicals that they use in their activities. And when a child is exposed to these things at a very young age, it causes what we call neurodevelopmental delay, because it impairs the normal development of the brain, because a child needs to grow up. The brain will keep changing till they become an adult. So you see that children will begin to have what we call cognitive impairment. So you send your child to school, they are not understanding anything the teacher is teaching. You say in our local language, but maybe it is just the exposure to these chemicals that they have. So a time is coming where we may not have, in quotes, smart people again, if we keep exposing ourselves.
Because their parents, the smart ones, in quotes, got themselves involved in stuff like that.
Yes. And then you take pregnant women. When a woman is pregnant, during the development of a child, every week that passes by, something new is developing. Either it's the brain, it is the limbs, or that is, the hands and the legs, it is the kidneys, the heart, the liver, something is developing every week. Now, once a woman is exposed to these chemicals are, we call them, they are teratogenic. Teratogenic means that it can alter the development process. So what can happen is that you can find out that some of the women who have babies who have serious birth defects. We're already seeing it happening. This is not rocket science. We are already seeing it happening.
What are you saying?
As far back as 2022, we had babies who were born with either no limbs at all. Some of them were born with maybe 4 legs. There was a baby who was born with the eye on the forehead. And you'll be thinking that we will say it is our house witches. It is not our house witches. Most of them, when we take their medical history, usually when you come to us, we'll ask you, where do you live? What were you living? And you find out that most of the people who have babies with these conditions actually live in communities where the mining is going on actively. And then you would come to see that some of these women are ignorant. They don't even know that it has anything to do with the exposure to the mining activity.
They think it's a curse.
They think it's a curse. Most of them will come, their families have abandoned them, saying that they are cursed, they are witches, all sorts of things. And yet, the problem is just the mining activity in the community where they live.
One-eyed baby.
Yeah, on the forehead. And the sad thing is that most of these babies, when they have these birth defects, you think that you've seen just maybe 4 legs and you are surprised. You think that you've seen no hands and you are surprised. But internally, you see that they have issues with their hearts, they have issues with their lungs, they have issues with their kidneys. Most of these babies don't even survive. You see, so it is very painful for somebody to become pregnant, to have a healthy child, and for no fault of hers, she has to have a child with a birth defect just because somebody wants to make some quick cash. I don't think it is fair to the pregnant women and the babies that they are giving birth to. Because if you think about all the societal stigma that comes with having a birth defect, it's devastating. And then to those of us who are in Accra, we think that we are spared from everything that is happening. We need to remember that most of the water that we are drinking, or the bottled water that we are seeing in Accra, the foods that we are eating in Accra, have you ever asked yourself, do you know where this water which has been bottled, where did it come from before it was purified to get to you? The food you are eating, do you know where it was grown? We've talked about the land pollution. Now, when the crops are growing, they can't distinguish between the nutrients in the soil and the chemicals in the soil.
In fact, recently I was coming from Kumasi to Accra. We passed through Konongo and we saw them doing serious illegal mining by the roadside. And then we took some video. And then on the way back to Accra, I wanted to buy some plantain, and I was thinking, should I buy plantain here? No, let me move far away from this place, because I was thinking, I don't know where the water is coming from.
Yes, exactly. The water that they use to grow that plantain, you don't know where it came from. And so now the foods we are eating are contaminated, even though we think we are in Accra and we are not close to them. They still bring these foods to Accra. We buy them and we eat them. Now, over time, these toxic chemicals accumulate in our bodies. Okay, and so eventually, even though maybe you would not have a neurodevelopmental delay, you may not have a birth defect. Long term, you could also have liver failure, you could have lung issues, you could also have kidney failure. And when you think about the cost of treatment for these conditions, I think this is something that we all need to talk about. Because now, as it stands, in case people don't know, the cost of dialysis is not cheap. I mean, it has even been a conversation we've had for a while. There's a time coming that if we are not careful, a lot of people are going to need dialysis. And if today, dialysis costs more than 600 cedis per session, and you need 2 to 3 sessions a week, how many average Ghanaians can afford that?
1,800, between 1,200 and 1,800
every single week. And so it's every single week. Even we, the healthcare professionals, I don't think that we can even afford that, to be paying that amount of money every single week if we find ourselves in that situation. And so it's very important that we have this conversation and not just focus on the environmental bit. Because at the end of the day, if the environment is healthy, who are going to live on the environment? If the human beings in the environment are not healthy, then what's the essence of having the healthy? The environmental bit is also important, no argument about it. But we also need to look at what it is doing to we, the individuals living in the environment.
You're watching GTV Breakfast, and my name is Kafli Day. My guest is Dr. Esther Agbozo. She is a doctor at the Wejagbawe Municipal Hospital, and we're looking at the health implications of galamsey. If you want to make a contribution to this show, our WhatsApp number is 055-556-1034. Doc, we've talked about the physical effects, health effects. How about mental health? Is there any link between galamsey and mental health?
Absolutely. Like I mentioned earlier, for the kids who have the neurodevelopmental delays, studies have shown that some kids whose mothers are exposed will end up with conditions like autism. Some of them will end up with what we call attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, which are all mental health conditions. And even if you think about the psychological effect fact that these women who have babies with congenital anomalies, the impact on their mental health, some of them are going to end up with depression, anxiety, all sorts of mental health issues just because they probably think it's their fault that their baby was born the way they were born. Meanwhile, it's not their fault. And even the babies who are born like that, if they do survive, which some of them do, if they do survive, all the mental health implications that is going to have on them. And even with the general populace, if at the end of the day, because of your exposure to some form of chemical in galamsey, you end up with kidney disease or liver disease, definitely it's going to affect your mental health. And so mental health bit is not taking out at all. In as much as it is having physical health effects, it also has a lot of mental health effects as well. Yeah.
Have you in your practice, I know you are in Accra, but have you come across anybody who has been impacted by mental health, or any of your colleagues for that matter?
That was brought to us. Mental health
impacted by galamsey issues on
absolutely.
Their health.
I remember last year when I was doing my pediatric rotation, there was this baby that was brought to us. The baby had a congenital heart defect. What's the common term that people usually say is what we call the hole in heart. So this baby was moved from the village to Accra. They were referred to Accra because they don't have specialists, pediatric specialists in the village. So the baby comes, the mother is worried, she's crying. All she knows is that her baby is on oxygen, her baby is not doing well.
How old is the mother?
The mother was around 29. So you wouldn't even say that it's because of advanced maternal age, because she was still a young person. Then we ask the history, we ask, where are you coming from? Okay, then this woman tells us that, I'm coming from this place. We ask, what do you do? She said, I'm a trader. We ask, okay, what does the baby's father do? She said, the baby's father is a farmer. So we ask her, where you live? Is there, usually when we see these things, we try to probe, to put our hands on what exactly could be the cause. And then we find out that where this woman lives is an area where there's a lot of mining activities. The unfortunate thing for this woman is that even though the baby had the hole in heart, which had been picked up because of the poor saturation from birth, when we did our scans and things, the baby had other issues, intestinal issues. Eventually, we lost the baby. That was the unfortunate thing that happened. And it's devastating having to, sometimes you can't even explain for these mothers to understand what you're saying. Because a lot of them are not educated people. And so even if you're explaining to her that it is not her fault, this woman is going to go home thinking that it is her fault. No matter what you tell her, she's going to think that it's her fault, because you can't explain, break it down for her to understand that it is because of the mining activities which you were exposed to during your pregnancy that your baby ended up this way, and now the baby is gone.
And she's not even a minor.
She's not a minor. She's a trader. Her husband is a farmer. So they are innocent people living their lives. But they just find themselves in a community where this is being done.
It must have been
traumatic. They have to suffer the loss. I'm sure the people enjoying the money from the mining are enjoying, and they are suffering for somebody's activities, which is not fair.
It must have been traumatic for her to have lost her baby.
Very traumatic. Very traumatic.
Cannot be everybody's
when you're breaking some of these news, it's devastating. Even with the health professionals, sometimes you have to take a minute not to cry, because this is somebody's baby. She's been looking for it to have a child. What makes it even more sad for this woman is that we actually found out that she has 3 kids.
That stops today.
2 of them are quote unquote special need kids, which I wouldn't be surprised also has a link with the exposure to the galamsey. And then the third one, which she was hoping would be a healthy child, is the one that died.
That's a big burden on her.
Exactly. Sad. And this one is just a trader. Her husband is a farmer. They are not rich people, and they have to take care of 2 children with special needs, and they've lost their 3rd child. That is sad.
It's not just an environmental
very
issue.
Sad.
It's not just an economic issue. When we say it's a health issue, and it's touching people. Now you're hearing from the professionals. I mean, it's not just an environmental issue. It's not just an economic issue. It's a health issue, and it's touching people who are not even directly involved. Look at this sad story of a trader and her farmer husband. Just want to have a family and look after themselves and do what they have to do on the earth. And then this is what happens. I would love to hear from you. 055-556-1034. We're looking at the health implications of galamsey. So we've looked at the risks to those who are directly involved, those who are in the community, and then those of us who are far away in Accra, thinking that Greater Accra and Water region, galamsey no reach there yet, so we are okay.
None of us are spared.
Well, none of us are spared. None of us are safe. So then let's take a look now at issues of prevention and mitigation. What needs to be done?
Okay. So with regards to prevention, I say that I think that because we've said that the people who are involved in the Galamsey themselves, I think maybe a good number of them do not even know that their activities, first of all, expose they themselves to some health issues like the lung issue, the cancers that they can get later, all the infections that we are talking about. So maybe we need to start with education. Now, education, we are talking educating the miners themselves. So I think recently I saw a video of one group going around from one town to another, educating the indigents and then their leaders about the effects, the health effects of Galamsey. I think that if the people begin to understand the health implications of their actions, some of them will be moved to stop. Of course, there will be a few other people who will be adamant and, of course, selfish and still want to make their money. And so for those people, that is where maybe our law enforcement agencies can come in, helping to ensure that these illegal miners do not continue their activities. We understand that mining is an important activity when it comes to economic growth. However, there are ways that we can go about it. Okay, because even if you take something like the levels of mercury that these miners are exposing everybody to, there are levels that are quote unquote safe, and there are even mercury-free methods of mining. So our law enforcement agencies will come in for the people who, even after our education, still are adamant on doing what they want to do. And then those of us who are, outside the villages and we are not ready to maybe join one group of people to go to these villages to educate them and all that. In our own small ways, on our social media platforms, we need to, make noise about it like we are doing. I think that we are doing a good job currently. We are making a lot of noise about it. We are, encouraging our leaders to take action. Now, when we talk about taking action, I think that the focus shouldn't just land on the leaders. It's all of us our responsibility, right? That we say it. So I noticed that most of my colleagues recently, even though you think that they are doctors and so they shouldn't be bothered, most of them you'd see on their WhatsApp status, on their Instagram, they are talking about the health implications of what the Galamsey. And now everybody is beginning